Welcome to Code Konvos. I'm Jon Dean, and today we're joined by our head of the Movement Academy, Marwan Heshmat. Welcome to the show.
Hey John, always a pleasure to have a chat with you.
Cool. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about movement, exercise, all the good stuff.
Okay.
But before we start, on this show we like to talk about the background of the guest. So can you give us a little bit of information about what brought you into this world of movement?
Sure, yeah. First of all, I started my career at a very young age, like at 6 years old. And then I traveled at the age of 14 to live abroad, alone and as well to pursue my career in football.
In football?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
in football. My parents were really worried about living alone at the age of the 14.
Wait. You left Egypt at what age?
At 14.
At 14 to
Yeah.
go and pursue a career in football.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And where did you go?
I went to Spain, to Madrid,
Nice.
a club called Cheval Valderas. That was my first offer, professional offer, as well as studying there in the Lycée Français to keep my studies as well going. So yeah, I went there and had an amazing career, actually an amazing experience from the age of 14 till the age of 20.
Okay.
Played there in a lot of top teams like Atletico Madrid, Getafe, Deportivo Alaves, and recently, like my last year was in Deportivo Alaves, actually in the second team, in the reserve team. So I was almost there, and also the French, because I speak French, helped me to learn Spanish and to speak Spanish fluently as well.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a good experience, but I had unfortunately to stop my career at the age of 20 because I suffered a lot of injuries in my ankles as well as my fibula and arm. So I had to stop my career at the age of 20, came back to Egypt, couldn't even know how to walk anymore or to run anymore. So I had to go through some surgeries.
Okay.
And then, yeah, after all this, I had it clear that I had to use all my knowledge and help my country as much as I can, as well as help me as a person to find something that will give me the joy and the adrenaline that the football gave me. So what I wanted,
Right.
exactly. So what I wanted to do is to learn about movement and learn about what happened, why I was injured, how I was injured, and is the process that I went through great, or was it lacking a lot of scientific things? Because in Egypt we usually tend to recover or to solve injuries in a I'll not say in a wrong way, but not in the best possible way that you can be healed. So yeah, I took a lot of courses educationally. I wanted to strengthen my knowledge in all this fitness industry. And and then I based my company, my sports organization company. The concept was that I had the license of a Finnish company called Polar. It's basically, not to walk into details, it's basically a heart rate tracking system that tracks everybody in the session. And from this device or from this system, I can know exactly each person's potential as well as the exact dosage that he needs to train within the session itself.
Okay, so basically you had a fantastic start in football in Spain, living the dream,
Yeah. It was
almost there.
Yeah, almost.
And
yeah.
then, like many people in sport, injury took you away from that sport, and you didn't give up. You just decided to change direction and start helping others not have what you had.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Pursue
That was
that.
the goal, yeah.
And you found that some of the science that you were then learning could be embedded into your own programming, and Polar was one of those systems that you found worked.
Exactly.
So just tell me a little bit, what is Polar?
We were using Polar in the clubs there, like in
But
Atletico
what is
Madrid.
it? What does it do?
It's just a tracking system.
Right.
It's a tracking system. Mainly, for example, let's take the example of John. You're coming to work out at the sports organization or anywhere that has Polar. You have your system and you have your account. You do your account, and now I have all your data.
This is a wearable device,
Exactly, it's a wearable device. You can wear it here, either on your chest. There's different
Chest or arm.
devices, yeah, different
Okay.
devices, and then you wear them, and I can exactly know your potential within the session itself. So, for example, if I have an aerobic session, aerobic means like I want you to run for a long period to enhance your endurance, for example. You can wear this device, and through the device, I can see in your screen, there's a screen in the session, I can see a box where there's John and the heart rate percentage, as well as where we go the next hour, for example, what's the exact amount that you have to do, and the exact outcome will be ideal for the session in how much time. So that's it.
I see.
Yeah, it's like an AI fit tech technology.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that gives you basically a chance, because you do group sessions, right?
Exactly.
Especially in movement. So when you have a group, obviously not everyone's the same.
Of course,
So you need to
of course.
find ways to figure out the individual sort of what you need to do individually to push those people to reach their goals. So the Polar heart rate monitor helps you sort of decide who you need to push harder, who you need to pull back, and
Yeah.
am I right with that?
Yeah, you are right.
Okay,
you are right.
cool. So in that case, then during your learning development and then building your own business, what did you find is the most essential part of movement? Like, why should we care about movement practices?
A lot of things. Let's take the example of a kid that is always moving. Like the other generations, like our generation, for example, was the last generation that I saw playing a lot in the clubs and moving, trying different sports. And you can see that impacts your later fitness levels or your later movements in general in life. If you lack movement, you lack a lot of stuff. You lack stability, you lack strength, and this can later on in later ages, impact your overall biomechanic or your overall structure, skeletal structure. I mean your joints. Can have more injuries. You can then not reach your potential either if you're an athlete or a normal person that goes to the work. You can have more difficulty living your life in general. But that's the main goal of movement. That's the purpose of movement, to have a better life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So within movement, I mean, we've talked about this before. We use the term functional training or functional movement. What does that mean?
Okay, I like always to say something that you always say. What I'm saying is not rocket science. This is just my experience. This is just what I learned. This is how I learned it. And this is what I saw in life. But what I'm saying is just my point of view and how I see sports. I just wanted to make sure that this is what I'm saying. And it's not rocket science, as you say. So when we talk about functional training, it depends what is it functional to. So functional training means that this will give you a better movement in something.
Right.
Normal functional classes, for example, are made to make you have a better lifestyle. Let's take an example of someone who, for example, is in the airport or is in the plane, and he wants to take his bag and put it, in the shelf or the thing inside of the plane. If he takes it like this and put it, that's a clean to jerk movement, for example. That's a barbell movement that you train in the gym. For example, that's functionality. That's lifestyle functionality. Taking the example of a football player. Functional training for a football player will be, I want to kick a ball. So there is a hip extension and flexion. My hip does like this and this. So that's functional training to soccer, for example. For a swimmer, I have to do this movement, for example. I have to have this shoulder mobility and do it. This is functional to swimming.
I see.
Depends on what is it functional to.
Right. So the big question you ask first when you're planning classes is, what do I need? What function does that client need? Yeah,
exactly.
What's the goal?
What's the goal?
And what age can you start training functional exercise?
So the Movement Academy is based on a LTAD system, which is a long-term athletic development program. Okay. We challenge physical literacy. We want our athletes to have a proper development program with each age stages, so that he takes the right dosage or the right training for each age group. For example, we have the youngest age group starting 7 years old, 7 to 9s, and then we have the 10 to 14s, and then we have the 15 plus, which we call them the adult stage. Sorry. So the main goal will be to build the foundational movement patterns within a general strength, speed, and agility, which are the fitness components.
Okay.
That will be the goal. And then we're going to be implementing in each stage more advanced or more progressive kind of exercises, which we called Move 2 within each age group. And that will be, if you have already or you're mastering already the goal or the required movement patterns in each stage, you will then have a better or even a more advanced system or more advanced program for each athlete. And that will depend not on the age, but the level of the athlete itself.
Okay, so we have ages of young athletes that we clustered together. So you said like
Exactly.
7, 8, 9-year-olds. And within the 7, 8, 9-year-olds, you have 2 different stages. So you have a more foundational, fundamental, like beginner program.
Exactly.
And then within that same age, you can progress into another version of your program, which progresses them into more harder exercise, more complex.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And you said earlier, physical literacy. And for people listening, they might not understand what that term means, but it's essentially, if you think of literacy in reading and writing, it's the journey of becoming good at something like reading through many, many different forms of reading, right? So physical literacy is just doing lots of different things physically during your childhood up into adulthood. And the more variety you do, the more physically literate you become.
Exactly.
So when it comes to movement, there must be some basics that everyone needs. What would you say if you had to advise parents or children listening to this? Where should we start?
I think we should start as early as we can. There is no, I don't think there's any age for any sport. The more you do sports, the more you move, it's better for the athlete. It's better not for the athlete, for the kid, for example, it's better to always move. Either it's in the movement academy, either it's by doing any sport. I recommend that younger age groups have a mix of both. So they can gain a strength-based training as well as what we call motor learning. Motor learning depends on what you're trying to do. For example, football, motor learning is how you coordinate yourself, how you coordinate your body. And this, you can build this by doing a sport itself. Because discipline is not very present in younger age groups. You can't be doing a proper form of squat. I want you to do a proper. They will not have this, or they will not proceed with what you're saying,
right,
if they don't like it or if it's not fun.
But those movements are patterns, like you said, they're functional, like a squat. You just mentioned a squat. A squat is sitting down, standing up, right? So the function for a young child, they probably don't have trouble sitting down and standing up.
Yep.
But for someone who's 90, maybe they do have trouble with that movement pattern.
Yeah.
So those patterns we see in sport and outside of sport, like you said, functionally in life.
Yeah.
But out of those patterns, if you were going to recommend patterns of movement, which ones do you say are essential?
But we'll see in the Movement Academy. I think that's the main goal of the Movement Academy. So I would recommend them to join the Movement Academy first of all, and then they learn all the need the movement patterns.
But better question. Yeah. How would you know which patterns you want to provide to the people in the academy? What do you do to know?
Well, it's all based on movement patterns. What can the body do? What is the anatomy of the body? You can move in all airplane motions. For example, you can move front to back and move side to side. So what I recommend is to have a mix of all these. But in younger age groups, it's the easiest way to have this mix is to go have a sport, to be in a specific sport, football for example, and to work on them. Your body will be already has the coordination, and it will learn to have this athleticism, you can call it athleticism in a way. And then strengthening this can be only by using simple movement patterns like pushing movement patterns, squat as you mentioned, like pulling, either it's glute bridges, either it's a normal pulling motion, to have this base. Once you have this base, you can do whatever you want. Okay. And that's our main goal.
So if I'm a parent and I'm watching my kids play in general or play sport, I can learn some of these essential patterns, like you said, like squatting, which is sort of sitting and standing, pushing, pulling, like you said on the airplane example, lifting something up and pressing it over my head.
Exactly.
So as a parent, my children need to be able to do these general patterns correctly. How would I know if there's a problem with my child's movement pattern? Like how can we tell when we look at kids?
Okay, well, the right way to do this will be through assessing the child himself and assessing what is his level. And this is what we'll be doing in the Movement Academy. Okay. We are following a system, and the system is to assess, and then to adapt, to give him the right program, and then to reassess, to see the progress or track whatever he's doing.
Right.
Okay. So that's the main goal, or the main system of the Movement Academy. We'll be doing this through a testing system called FMS.
Right.
Okay. Functional Movement Screening Test. And this functional movement screening test is basically these movement patterns. There are 7 movement patterns. It depends on the age group we will be needing. We will be selecting the needed patterns for each age group. And then we'll be seeing these movements and assess either the child has a deficiency or an imbalance in each side. And this can be really interesting to solve the problem at a younger age, so that he doesn't have any limit in his potential or in his career, whether he wants to play football, whether he wants to play anything, he doesn't have a limit. And injuries won't hold him back in any ways. So that's the main...
So when you assess a child and you see, dysfunction.
Yeah.
So you see that joint, the shoulder is not rotating properly, or you can see stiffness, you can see imbalances.
Exactly.
What happens then? What would you do once you identify an imbalance?
Yes, we will be in each age group, we will be having, these are group sessions. The Movement Academy are group sessions, but we also offer private sessions within the Movement Academy.
Okay.
In the group sessions, we'll be having already our mobility program, and this will be at the beginning of each session, and this will be an overall joint mobility. So even if he has any deficiency, either it's an ankle deficiency, either it's a knee, hip, shoulder, as you mentioned, he'll be doing these in all sessions. So automatically, when we retest the FMS, we'll be seeing if there are any improvements in the movement itself. If there are no improvements, we'll be needing more private and individualized program for the athlete or for the kid himself to progress.
I see.
And this will be the goal.
Okay, so all your movement programs at least have that foundational delivery of mobility, flexibility, things that help us move better.
Yep.
And then on top of that, you start piling on the exercise that makes us, you said speed, strength, and agility.
Exactly.
I think most people get strength and speed, but what's agility?
Okay, agility is, I'll call agility a mix between mobility and flexibility. Okay? Mobility is how your range of motion, let's keep it simple, how your joints move. Okay, that's more or less the mobility. Let's keep it simple. And then flexibility, I'll say that it's how can you push, where can you push your range to move. Let's get this another time.
Okay,
let's get this another time. The mobility is, for example, my shoulder mobility. If I can do this, that's my mobility. When you come and push my hand, this will be the flexibility. How far can I go?
Oh, so mobility is how far you can take a joint through its range by yourself.
By yourself, exactly.
And the extra flexibility is then when someone else pushes it or pulls it.
Exactly.
How much further does it go?
Exactly.
And then there's basically a number between those two.
Exactly. And there's a formula between these two to see how your joints work. And then that builds the agility. More or less, the agility, to keep it simple, is to move better. It's to know how to change your direction. It's to know how to start, when to stop. The braking mechanism, the starting mechanism, that's more or less the agility.
Okay. And why would that be useful for sport?
Because this is sport. It's not that's going to be useful. This is sport. You can't see a stiff, like myself now, but later on I was agile. You can't see a stiff person doing sports. Take the example of Neymar. How many footballers do you see stiff? I can't tell any footballer stiff. I didn't see that. So it depends on the movements that the footballers does. It produces more power. Let's take a quick example. If you have an agile hip, let's call it an agile hip, you can then take all the range of motion and shoot the ball. And that will produce power. Okay? That will produce a higher range of motion. For example, if I want to punch someone, let's take an example. You can go like this and punch someone. That means you have a mobility, and you can just punch him from here. And this will not produce the same power as this.
So you're getting more range, which is increasing the amount of leverage, I guess,
or power.
And then power comes in.
Power, exactly.
I
So
see.
agility then produces power. So it produces then change of directions. It produces more force. You can produce more force. And above all, it also prevents any injury. That's above all.
I see.
And I feel like a good strength and conditioning coach, it's not the coach that, let's go, you have to lift, you have to do, I will overtrain you, you have. No, the good coach is the one who his client can go and do his sport and play games and feel pain-free and be pain-free.
Nice.
That's a good strength and conditioning coach, in my opinion.
Okay, so being injury-free, and we know your story, that would have helped.
Yeah,
right? So
it would have helped a lot. Yeah.
Injury-free should be the priority, right? The more they can play, the better people get.
Exactly.
So priority one, injury-free, and you do that through lots of mobility, flexibility, and then you build strength on top of that.
Yep.
And then you start putting them into some sort of program that tests their change of direction, acceleration, deceleration. And then that's their agility, how well they're moving. Okay, so at KODE, how are we going to put that into the sports academies?
Okay, how are we going to put all the fitness components, you mean?
Well, what I mean is at KODE, we have children from age 3, 4 joining our academies, and then we have elite level athletes.
Yep.
From your side, your work as a movement academy, how much effort do you put in different age ranges? That's a better question.
Okay, the program is designed to, as we mentioned, build these components, the strength, speed, and agility. But there are different types of strength. There are tempo strength. Tempo is different. Like any foundational movement of any strength, it will be holding in a position. And then there will be someone doing it more explosive. So not to dig into details, there will be goals for each fitness component that we mentioned, strength, speed, and agility, within every age group.
Okay.
And I will be waiting for the athletes to reach a certain level to pass then to move to, that we mentioned, that will be the more advanced part or the more advanced category.
Right, I see.
That's mainly how KODE will be divided till we reach the 15 plus age group or the adults age group. This group will be more of a traditional functional classes, and this will be divided into two sectors. Burn, which is mainly burning fats, but we can burn fats without gaining muscles, of course. So it will be the major goal will be burning fats, and then the minor one will be building muscles. The other one, gain, will be more focused on hypertrophy, which is the process of muscle building. And then the minor one will be fat loss. That's how the movement academy is divided. And then we'll be having the sports performance center, which caters to all members of KODE. This will be more advanced, specific performance training.
Right, I see. So the movement academy is split between, let's call it like recreational sports players, young athletes, people playing sport for fun, or not even playing sport. They just want to move better.
Exactly.
So they come to you, they get assessed so you can see any issues. You train them so they become more mobile, flexible, strong, fast, and agile. And then within that age range, you have the easier stuff for the beginners. And then as they progress up, you have harder programs for those that want to take it further. And have I got that right?
Yeah.
And then as they progress towards elite athletics or playing football, etc., tennis, swimming, you then, as a performance center, you start to work closely with the teams and the players.
Exactly.
Okay. So within this performance center, within that team, is exercise all we need?
Of course not. An athlete, I feel like it's a combination of a lot of things that he does. And as you always say, the performance center will be an athlete-centered program, okay? We'll be focusing on all components of the athlete in terms of recovery, in terms of nutrition, in terms of exercise and performance.
So something that we hear a lot about is in sports, especially in academies, is children and young people that overtrain. So why would someone overtrain, and what's the problem with that? And also, how can you prevent that?
Well, if you're overtraining, it's not good to overtrain because you will feel more tired and you will gain less and you will benefit less from the program that you're designing than a normal person. Recovery is important as well as you train. As well as you train, you have to recover. And that's the thing that we lack here in Egypt because you're just focused on hard working and you're not seeing really the internal muscle damage that you're doing.
Okay.
So this will not happen at the Movement Academy or at KODE because all we're trying to do is to assess regularly to see if there are any deficiency and to give the right dosage with our system, the Polish system that I mentioned, and to see as well if there are any muscle damages in any athlete. So we'll be assessing regularly and consistently to see if any athlete is overtrained, and then we can scale him or put him in the right category or in the right stage that fits him.
Nice. Okay. So I was reading a study the other day and I found this interesting. And anyone listening to this right now that sits in a chair all day, which is most of us, the study was looking at the people that work in offices, generally seat-bound people, right? That is most of us today. And they were accumulating about 6 hours of being in a chair.
Okay.
Those people that were sat down for 6 hours versus those people that stood up at work and didn't sit down for 6 hours. They sent everyone to the train. They sent the people in the chair to the gym once a day to train. Okay. And the people that didn't sit in a chair, they didn't go to the gym. What they found was if you sit down all day and then go and train, you achieve less in the way we monitor like fitness levels, movement patterns, joint flexibility like you talked about, compared to those that didn't go to a gym but just didn't sit down.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, so I think for adults, one of the issues is if you're starting to train in exercise, which is hard to get going, right? We all struggle, fit it in our day. One of the things we can look at doing before we even start to train is what are we doing all day? Like how are we moving? Because you keep talking about these movement patterns, but if we're not using our movement patterns, generally we lose function.
Yep.
So when we come as an adult to a class, any fitness class, what do you think is the best way to start training, to start exercise? Because it's hard work.
Out of the training itself, I believe that what you're trying to say is that you have to take care of your posture as well at work. And that's a real part that people neglect sometimes, either when driving or when sitting on a desk for 9 to 5. Our advice here will be also as well to maintain a healthy posture and to have some breaks to walk within the work environment. Right. And that will be healthy for an adult. On the other side, within the Movement Academy or within KODE, the recovery will be taken care as well, because what happens when you train? When you train, your muscle fibers get like crimped, okay? That's what happened. And then what you're trying to do is to have a healthy nutrition So then you can rebuild these fibers in a stronger way or in a more efficient way.
So exercise is breaking us down.
Exactly.
And the recovery is building us up.
The recovery is building us up again.
Okay.
So recovery actually is more important than training. Of course, you have to train, but if you don't recover well, sleep well, and eat well, your body won't get the maximal benefits of what you're trying to do.
Right.
So yeah, that's also a part that people neglect sometimes.
And that's why at KODE you've got the nutritionist, the mindset coach, the physiotherapist,
exactly.
Exactly. Okay, excellent. I wanted to just, especially for adults, we always hear these myths in exercise. Yeah. They're always floating around. Some of them are quite funny. Can you tell us a couple of myths that we might have heard that, you know, the statement isn't true?
Of course. Can you lose fat from your leg? For example, if you want to lose fat from your leg, can you do this? Can you train only your legs and you lose fats from your legs?
I would say no.
Of course not. Because at the end of the day, we have a connective tissue. Let's not dig deep into this, but you have something called fascia system. Fascia system is like connective tissues that holds all your body, your organs, everything. That means that every part of your body is connected. Right. Every part of your body is connected. When you're not good mentally, you can feel like your stomach is hurting you. When you're not good mentally, you can feel like you're down. You can feel like your arm is hurting you. It's normal. All your body is connected. Accordingly, so you can't spot fat reduction because at the end of the day, you train to lose your total body fat percentage. You train to lose your body fat percentage. So depending on the cycle of metabolism, your cycle of burning, you will have some stubborn fat. Depending on your cycle, you can start, for example, John, you can start losing fats from your belly, then you start losing fats from your arms, other one starts losing from his legs, and then he starts from, it depends on your cycle.
So it just goes from where it needs to go, but you don't control that?
Exactly, you don't control that. You just have to reduce your body fat, and you have to increase your muscle mass. Another myth that I love, ladies who are afraid to train with weights. They're afraid because they don't want to build muscles. Right. I agree. I understand where does it come from.
Is it this the treadmill army that you see in
exactly.
gyms?
Exactly. The treadmill, burpees, jumping jacks army everywhere. Okay, but this is not true because females only have 15% of testosterone, which is one of the main factors of muscle growth.
Right.
Okay. So it's even harder. It's a lot harder. Males have 95 up to 95% of this hormone in their body. So it's very hard for females to build muscles.
Oh, so what you're saying, they get worried that they're going to bulk up.
Exactly.
Like
They get very worried that they're going to bulk up. And it doesn't make sense because 1 kilo of fats, for example, can be something like this. 1 kilo of muscles would be something like this. Right. So even if you build muscles, you will look more toned and you will look more fit in a way. Right. In a way, you look more fit. And there's nothing with females, with women lifting weights. I can see women lifting 200 kilos, 100 kilos. If they can do it, then shoot for it.
So you're saying what you see is anyone, men or women, when they want to lose weight, get into shape, the best way to do that is through resistance training, lifting something that is a little bit heavy, and combining that with some cardiovascular work. But the cardiovascular work, the treadmill, the row machine, this is for the heart, lungs, circulation. Exactly. This is not going to help you in a quick way lose body fat.
It will help you. It will help you be fitter, as you mentioned. Yeah. It will help you be fitter, and there's different ways. There's different ways of cardiovascular system. There are different energy systems in your heart. So let's not dig deep into this. And this can work only with a certain type of strength. Right. But the ideal process to not be afraid is at the beginning you have to build muscles. You have to change your body structure and composition. Okay. That's the first step.
And that makes us look tighter and stronger and not as bulky.
And don't get mistaken with the scale, because at the beginning we were very afraid to have a higher level on the scale, but it's normal. When you change your body composition, what you're doing is you are building muscles. Okay, and you have to build muscles to boost your fat burn metabolism. Right. So that's the right process. That's the opposite to do it.
Okay. Yeah, because muscle tissue is alive, which means it's using energy just to stay as it is, which is why men, when they start going through bodybuilding, have to consume so much more food to maintain that muscle, because it's living. But what you're saying, especially for women listening to this, you go into the gym, you start some resistance training, you lift some weights, you build some muscle, you end up looking slimmer, more toned. Exactly. And when you go to bed, you're burning body fat. Exactly. Because your muscle's alive, eating calories.
Exactly. Let's agree on something. I'll ask you a question. Do you count your calories? Do you type the person of that
Me
counts?
personally?
Yeah.
No. Not anymore.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Not to be. I don't want anyone to be offended. Nutritionists, I agree that this is the right way to do it if you want your body to look great. But I believe that mentally, that's not the right thing to do.
Right.
You will suffer mentally if you scale every rice that you're trying to eat. Me personally, that's my opinion, and as I mentioned, I like what you always say, John. This is not rocket science. This is my opinion. I never follow the diet or a meal plan. I don't like this. I just want to eat healthy. I want to train hard as much as I can in the gym and eat healthy.
Yeah.
But I don't like to count my calories because this is not the right mental way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I use something called my eyes.
Okay.
So I just look in the mirror.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
When I'm not happy, I just work harder.
Exactly. And you eat well, you work hard, you eat well, and that's the cycle.
Yeah.
That's a normal cycle, yeah.
And as I get older, it gets harder.
Nah. You work out a lot, John. I know you work out.
Okay, so final thoughts. Do you have any advice to anyone who wants to start exercise tomorrow? What should they do?
I have an advice. I saw a statistic last night that 60% of memberships are unused. It's just about
gym memberships
worldwide. 60% of memberships are unused. So only my advice is, just my humble advice, is to be disciplined, and if you want to stick to something, accept that mentally you will not feel comfortable. Accept it.
Yeah.
And this is what changed my life. I accepted the periods or the moments that I'm not mentally good. I accepted them and tried to work better.
Right.
And this changes you mentally, and you know how to control your emotions.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Stick to a plan. Stick to the Movement Academy plan. Join us. And that's it. Looking forward to see everyone soon, hopefully, at KODE.
Excellent. Okay, so if people want to follow you or see more of your work, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go on Instagram, Marwan Heshmat 9.
Okay, excellent. Yep. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Cheers.
Cheers.